Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about this beautiful knife here. And I'm going to tell you guys, this is not a fantasy knife. It may be a dream knife, but it's not a fantasy knife. This is a real deal. Very nice US made knife. Um, and it's just fantastic. Feels great in hand, does not feel heavy, feels light. Good old 1095 steel in this one, but there's some other options available. And if you'd like to hear more about this fantastic knife and the company that produced this knife, I'd encourage you to check out the video because it's worth it. It is definitely worth it. All right, welcome back to the Fortified Castle. Hi to all my viewers. I appreciate you so much. So very much. Thank you for your viewership, for your support, your likes, your shares, your comments. I really enjoy the connection I have with you all. When you ask me questions and I can help you out, I feel good about that. And so I do that to the best of my ability and will, as long as I can possibly do it. It's already getting hard, but I'm going to continue to answer as many questions as I can. And so today we're talking about this knife. So this isn't really a grail knife for me. You can see it's kind of something special, but not necessarily a grail knife for me. It's just a beautiful knife. I've known about this company for years. Was able to get this knife, I don't know, it's 4 or 5 years old now. But it's not only a good looking knife, but these are users and they're made in the USA. And that's kind of special. And so let's just look at the knife real quick before we get into the company and what this knife is all about. All right, so this is the bowie knife, obviously. The blade is supposed to be 10 inches, but it measures 9 7/8. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. And overall, the knife is 15 3/4 inches. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The handle is 5 3/4 inches, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the handle on this knife is elk stag, and pretty much I'd say maybe they do a little darkening on these grooves on the elk, but the silver color is the natural color of elk stag. This is the crown of the elk, so right by the base of the skull. This is called the crown part of the antler, and that's what they've fashioned this handle from. You can see it's nicely pinned, and I'm sure it's epoxied too in there, as is the custom of knife makers for a long time. You have a stainless steel, nice stainless steel guard here. Check this guard out, guys. Look at how precise that guard is on this knife. I don't think you get much better than that unless you're going with a custom knife maker. It's really, there's no gap there. So you're seeing the line where the stainless steel meets up against the blade, but there's no gaps in this thing. It's absolutely fantastic. Nicely polished. You've got in this model a 1095 blade, and this, let me see if I could get it out of the light. So you have here what they call jeweling. Let me try to get a good picture here. So let me turn the light out, see if I can get it better. Really not getting it. When you look at this up close, it's little concentric circles. You can see a little bit of it right there. And so it's just a bunch of circles done by a wire brush in here. And this jeweling became popular on firearms. And so firearms makers and then owners started jeweling their bolts on their firearms with this kind of concentric circling done by a wire brush on it. And I really can't get it in any better than that because it's just not coming. It's very apparent out of the light. You can kind of see the circles in there, but the reflection of the light just is not going to let me show that to you. It's absolutely beautiful though. It is functional. It does help provide some corrosion resistance. This is 1095 on this knife right here. You can see the spine here. I did not measure that. Let's do that now. So on this example, it's a 3/16 stock on the knife, and you can see it's got a nice hollow grind here. The edge on it's good. And so these blades are all fashioned in-house. The knife is handmade. They use laser plasma cutters to cut the blade. And then everything else is done by hand. And so they're forged by hand. They're descaled. And then they're ground and honed by hand. So this is all hand grind here, which you can see it's a pretty good job on that. Look at how consistent that is. Hand ground. Big knife to be hand ground and done so well. And this knife is produced by Silver Stag. I've got their logo there from their website up on the screen right now. And their company is family run and owned. They are hunters. They fish, and they love the outdoors. And all the stag on these knives are drop stag. So they go out in the woods and they find the stag, or they have somebody do it probably. But it's all drop stag that they use, that they find in the woods. One of your best options, I think, to get a decent, good-looking piece of stag on a big knife. But these guys offer 85 different patterns of knife, including folding blades. And I'm showing you some of those patterns right now. They have some awesome little skinners. They have fishing knives. They have cutlery knives, boning knives, all kinds of different knives for pretty much everything you can imagine to use. And so that brings up, can you use this? And so, yeah, watched a bunch of videos on these. I have not used this knife since I got it. But I watched a bunch of video on it. Peterbilt Knife Guy did a video on one, if you want to check that video out. But one of the videos I saw, the guy was done in, I think it was done in 2021, and he did the video on the knife, well weathered. He used the knife every year hunting. Been out on elk hunts with it, performed, flawlessly. He never had a problem with the knife, and he loved the knife. And I think that's the kind of performance that you can expect from these knives. They're users. They're not look pretty, set on the mantle knife, which that's pretty much what I'm doing. But if I get a chance, I will use this. I just haven't been hunting a whole lot in about 7 years. I think last time, it may have been longer than that. Maybe in 10 years since I've been hunting. I'm not sure, but I bought this after, I had just gotten too busy to hunt, and haven't been since then. So they are users. They come with a lifetime guarantee on them. You do have to maintain proof of purchase. That kind of sucks, but it's good to have a lifetime guarantee. And, just keep your receipt. If you buy one, keep it in a box. So these are not inexpensive knives. Obviously, you can look at this knife and tell it's not an inexpensive knife. And they aren't tremendously expensive, but they're expensive. So I went on the website today. Big knife like this matter of fact, this model knife was selling for $298 on the website today. I think the least expensive one I saw was around $144. But as you can see, I've been showing you patterns of these knives, and they have a bunch of different patterns and skinners, and you actually at $140 to $180. That's probably going price you pay for knives these days, good ones, and so that's not too bad. They also do Damascus, and so there's a picture of a knife with their Damascus. It's in-house produced Damascus, folded 250 times using 15N20, I believe, is the stainless steel they use in their Damascus. So it's all in-house. The sheaths are not in-house, but they all are made to fit the knives, and they differ. This one actually had, as I remember, I had a choice between this type of braided or a stitched sheath, and I chose the braided just because it's a little different. And it has a cross latch there. Some don't, some do. It also has a handle retainer right here, which is kind of cool in leather. That's old school way to do it. And they put a little bit of a deer spike, in there to hold on to. And this actually works. I don't know that I would use it. I probably wouldn't. And these fit really well in the knives. Let me put it in here. So it's a nice snug fit for the knife. That's your logo right there. Just a fantastic company. I am not affiliated in any way. They're not paying me to do this. I just bought the knife and I like it. And so when I like something, I'm going to pass that on to you. Even though I haven't used this, like I said, I've watched a lot of videos on it. They have a really good reputation, and I don't think you would have any problem using these knives from a matter of fact, I haven't heard a negative video on the knives, and that's from videos of guys who actually used them. So the one thing I'd say is you have to use some common sense, right? So they do have slab knives. I'll show you a picture of that right now. And but these are not slab knives; they're whole knives, whole stag knives. And so when you have that, they're epoxying it, and this is pen too. But yeah, could you do some light tender work with this? Yeah, I imagine you can, but I wouldn't be batoning through a 3-inch log with this. I think it'd just put the handle through the stag. And that's just the nature of how you construct these things. So they're not really meant for batoning, but you can skin and use this in any way otherwise that you would all day long. You got a nice choil right there. It is kind of cramped. So I don't know what their new model, I didn't take a good look at that. I'd like to see that choil down a little bit further. It's plenty wide enough. It's just kind of shallow to get up on. Most of their knives are shorter knives, meant for hunting and skinning. Also, filleting knives and things like that. But Yeah, really good company, really good knives. They've been doing it for about 25 years now, going on 25 years, I think. And, you know, why would you spend that kind of money on a skinning knife? Well, for one thing, it's a bowie, right? So it's not exactly, I spent $300 on a skinning knife. And, if I'm going to go out and beat on a knife, I'm going to use, something cheap like a Condor. I've got plenty of knives for that. I got this excellent Bark River that I've used, a heavy use knife, slab design. You can baton with it. I've got knives that I can baton with, right? My Cold Steel, Trail Boss. I usually use this. I'm not going to use this for batoning. If I take it out hunting, I'd take an axe with me, right? I'd take an axe with me. So I don't think that's necessarily a deal killer that it's not meant for hard batoning. The other thing is, you know, I have a few nice knives here. This is a nice knife. It's a Benchmade saddle horn. Really nice little bushcraft knife. Well made, good steel. This is really, really held up well. I've done a lot of bushcraft whittling work with this knife right here. But maybe your father has talked about owning a knife like this his whole life, or your grandfather having a cool Bowie knife with genuine stag handles. And having something like this made can cost an awful lot of money. And for in the range that these knives, which I'd say between 160 and 300 is what the range is on these knives, to be able to provide a gift like that to your father or grandfather, I think is pretty special. And knives like buck are great. They're great. I've used this many, 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 many years. But you're talking about having something special in your collection, right? You've got all of these knives that you can hunt with. Heck, this Uncle Henry you could take out as a bush knife and it's going to do just fine. It's a 10-inch blade on it, but I don't have to worry about it. If it breaks, it breaks. I just throw it away. So that's why you buy a knife like this, right? It's special. It's an heirloom that you can pass down. It's a special knife you can use, and if I get a chance, I will use this knife. I just, I haven't taken it out on just, a camping bushcrafting type of adventure. I definitely would skin a deer with this knife, no problem, without hesitation. I would. So I just want to share that with you. Silver Stag's a great company, I think, made in America, doing things right. Mostly hand manufactured. This knife is. Once the plasma cut is done, everything else is done by hand on these knives, and they do an absolutely fantastic job with them. So hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for your support.